Hello, hello. Okay, I've had something on my mind. I thought I would make a video and talk about it. Please feel free to share your thoughts. Uh, Today, I'm going to make a video for you basically called Why Bitcoin Cash is Not Bitcoin and why, and basically some thoughts concerning that whole subject for you. And before I do go into details about that, let me just first say this. I'm a heavy supporter of BCH. I am not a supporter of BTC very much, okay? When I introduce people to Bitcoin, which I do daily, I always show them BCH. I believe that, number one, Bitcoin has the name Bitcoin, although it is not owned by any one particular individual. The name itself is by point of agreement, which means I would say a majority of the people recognize Bitcoin to be BTC. It doesn't really, to me, matter what you do to it. You could make it, any change you could make to it would still be, for now, BTC Bitcoin. I don't particularly care too much about the name, because the guys who are pumping the name are purely interested in making profits, in owning the name for making profits, and those profits are measured against the old system, which is the government issued fiat system. So when you take your Bitcoin and measure it against the US dollar value, and if you're basically gambling in crypto to try to make a profit in terms of USD, you're really not forwarding the actual purpose of what the Bitcoin system is really all about. That being said, I do believe that Bitcoin BTC is a fun game for people. However, and I'm not opposed to it. I'm not opposed to really whatever people want to do. If the majority of people think that Bitcoin is a Ford truck, then I'm okay with that. If they think it's a storage of value, although it would be a horrible storage of value, as, for example, watching it today, basically hovering somewhere around like $6,000 or something like that, where it was $20,000 a few months ago. So, I think it's a horrible storage of value myself. I think it's also a terrible product, and I also think that it's just not as good as BCH. And BCH is the actual, although it does not have the name Bitcoin, it has the Bitcoin system. So to me, that's what matters. And if you look at the world, there's really barely anybody even knows about crypto, even though you think, oh, a lot of people are finding out about it. Not really. Not yet. So if we got 100 times more people to actually start using crypto, in terms of actually purchasing things and using it online, and not just trying to make USD gains on it, but if we could actually create an ecosystem where a cryptocurrency could be used and never exchange back for fiat dollars, right? That would be a really cool thing. And I think that the crypto that can do this in the long run is with the most opportunity for the longest amount of time and benefit is Bitcoin Cash. So that's why I do support Bitcoin Cash. Although to me BTC is fun, but it's kind of for people who are obsessed with being a government slave. Let's be honest. BTC is for people who don't understand the actual predicament that man is faced with in terms of his economic slavery. If you measure your gains versus an economic slave tool like the US dollar, you could be a very wealthy slave, and that's the end phenomena of Bitcoin BTC. And so when you're bored of that game, you're going to want to know, like, okay, how would I actually change the world? And the way you would change the world is to get people to use some form of alternative money that could get us out of this system. Bitcoin BTC, I would wager a very large amount of money that it will fail. Not that it will go out of existence, but the Lightning Network will probably fail. It's just way too unwieldy and impractical to be actually used in adoption, when BCH is literally can be taught to somebody in under 60 seconds. So in the long run, if we get adoption, I think BCH has the best chance to do that. After that, it could be some of the other coins. But I think if BCH leads the way, other coins will also gain adoption as well. And I think that if you look into the future, into the long run, it's not the Bitcoin name that will really matter. It's the Bitcoin system that will matter. And adoption is what will matter. And adoption will be based on people like you and me relaying a good thing one-on-one through grassroots, okay, to each other, and until eventually we can exchange, hopefully it's, I think it'll be BCH. It could be another crypto though, but one of them will rise up and it will no longer need to be exchanged back into some other fiat currency, and that's the one that's going to win, okay? So I'm betting that a few years down the road from now, it will be BCH that leads the way. So what I think is that if crypto grows to be, for example, 100 times more popular than it is today, and BCH is used by more and more and more people, the people who support BTC could eventually become way outnumbered. Now this is like, you might laugh at that and say, oh yeah, that's impossible, or, that's unlikely. Maybe it is, I don't know. I don't really think it is though. I think because eventually people are going to want to find something that actually makes sense and actually can be used simply, easily, and that is the original Bitcoin system. And so if we 100x'd the market and we gained actual merchant adoption, what I think is that in that way, that's the path for BCH, really. Now that's the long road. It's not an easy road. But it is the real road. And whether you realize that today, or you're going to realize that a year from now or 2 years from now, that's fine. But I do invite you to learn more, be honest, and look further into the future as far as, maybe 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, all that kind of stuff. And then be honest. And if you and see what you think. See what you think, because I think to me it's very, very clear. It's a very clear thing. But yeah, Bitcoin BTC, oh yeah, give them the name. Who cares? Like, who cares? There's literally like the market's gonna 100x, or it's gonna die. So if we're gonna try and grow it, don't worry about who has the name, okay? I know some strong supporters of BCH think that Bitcoin is BCH and, all that kind of stuff. You know what? That's a waste of time. That's a total waste of time. What's the correct thing to do is every time you want to bitch out someone for, liking BTC, go and help one other person open a new wallet of BCH. If you're going to say something negative, go and do something positive as well. And although I do totally respect people in BCH who have the opinion that BCH is Bitcoin, and I get what they're trying to say, but it's a bit of a PR nightmare to try to take away something that people are just not going to refer. It's just a name, and that's what they're going to call it. So that's not even what we're after anyways. We're not after a name. We're after changing mankind. So I think we could all get along a lot better if we just recognize these differences. But one thing too is that, but there is a lot of false information being spread as well regarding BCH. So I think that's what makes some of the leaders in BCH upset, is all the false information that to them it seems like it must be being spread intentionally, because there's so much of it and it's so silly. So in defense, I think that's why, why some of the BCH leaders will say stuff like Bitcoin is BCH, BCH is Bitcoin. But what I think is really real, let the government slaves have the name BTC. That's totally cool. They can't think outside of the fiat network system anyways. They all think that fiat, okay, if you measure your Bitcoin BTC versus USD, you're not a real cryptocurrency person. You're missing the purpose, okay? You are. It's not. What I mean by that is that you're seeking to benefit personally within the framework of the system that exists today. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just not the main point, okay? So I don't want to be too harsh on people who do this for profit, because I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I believe in capitalism and all that kind of stuff, and it is perfectly fine to measure your gains. I've gained, but I just want to emphasize that the real road out is not through pumping price. The real road out is through actual adoption. And I just think people should be a lot more honest about what is the natural way. That's the real way you want to pump your coin. The coin that gets pumped through actual adoption is the real deal, okay? That's what I'm trying to say. There's nothing wrong with having fun. And even if you believe in massive adoption and you're still just, like I know some really smart guys who have great channels and they do measure their gains versus USD. So I'm not putting them down at all, but they're very, very smart, and they also do recognize the adoption factor. So let me take that back. As long as you recognize that if none of this stuff gets any adoption, its real value is very little, okay? So as long as you're clear about what your focus is, then I would personally not have anything against that. Okay, well, I don't know if I'm probably rambling a bit, but thank you so much. Tell me what you think, please, and have a great day.